All right, very special show today. Obviously special because we got some big signings. Kyle Schwarber, big signing. Edwin Diaz, another big signing. Right after each other, one after the other. Outstanding work by the Phillies and the Dodgers to get these things done. Schwarber, $150 million, 5 years for the Phillies. Diaz, $69 million, 3 years. We'll see if there's some deferred with the Dodgers. So it should be interesting to talk about, and we got a lot to talk about. And and the reason it's really special, JP Morosi,
Thanks, John.
my colleague. I'm a little out of breath. I ran here to get here at 3. Of course, I didn't make it. I'm not going to be in the Olympics. Great to see you, JP. What do you think? We're off to a decent start today.
We are, John. And first of all, John, you are in the Olympics for news-breaking, reporting effort. This man always runs the winter meetings. So great job by John, as always, on the reporting this week. I thought it was interesting to see those two back-to-back signings, really, in my view, reshaping a bit of what we thought the market was going to bring. A very healthy number for Schwarber, obviously record-setting on an AAV for a DH only, outside of Ohtani. Of course, he's in a category unto himself. But I thought in general, a very healthy number for him. And in some ways, John, fitting of Kyle's personality, that he didn't want this to linger. He knew that he loved the situation in Philly, loves his teammates there. They love him. The city loves him. Why delay? Why go on longer? And so I think it was could he have squeezed out a little extra money by waiting? Maybe. But he ends up going to a place that he really loves being. He's really, I think, become a legend in that town. We got the news today as well that he's going to be playing for Team USA. So one day he gets 2 new teams, John, or one team that's very familiar with him in the Phillies. And, of course, Team USA will be back in the World Baseball Classic. With Edwin Diaz, we had been hearing, of course, the Dodgers, the Jays, and the Mets had been 3 of the more serious teams looking at the high-level, high-end closers, both Diaz and Robert Suarez. Now, of course, Suarez remains as the last man standing in that tier of the top tier of relief pitching, rather. So I think in general, a very healthy number for a closer. The Dodgers, John, we know they've done a great job of finding value and bringing in relievers who maybe had ups and downs in their career and getting the most out of them. Well, now they're bringing in someone who's on a Hall of Fame trajectory, I would say, in many ways, John, and will undoubtedly find ways to get the most out of him. And you also wonder this. They had signed his brother, Alexis Diaz, in the middle of this past season. So certainly Edwin and Alexis, I'm sure they talked about shared experiences and bounce ideas off each other. And the Dodgers had this reputation, as we both know, for helping with their analytics and also with their coaching, Mark Pryor and others, to get the best out of that performance. And my goodness, Edwin Diaz helps that bullpen get even deeper and even better.
Absolutely, and we're going to get to all the chats here. We've already got hundreds of chats coming in, maybe even thousands. Of course, JP here, so it's a big day. But I want to ask you about Schwarber. Let's talk about him first. You mentioned he's this kind of guy. It's not going to linger. He probably was getting a little pressure from all of us over there, saying he was the one holding things up. I actually don't even think that was fair, because I think it was just the fact that there were some big numbers that were already signed for Cease and guys like that, and it's difficult. These agents don't want to get a bad deal for their clients. And generally, this is obviously a good deal. 30 million a year, 5 years. He was very coveted here. You cannot be surprised he's going back to the Phillies, though.
No,
right?
I'm not. And certainly, John, there was interest elsewhere. His hometown, Cincinnati Reds, I think that was a really interesting sidelight to this entire story, where the Reds had a chance. And I think they did have a genuine opportunity, but it would have taken a lot to bring him away from a team that he's already comfortable with and that he knows, based on ownership there and John Middleton. This is one of those teams, John, that's part of that group of a half a dozen ball clubs that we know are consistently in it every single year. And they know there's some unfinished business, the way that NLDS ended in Los Angeles. You see Schwarber, some highlights there. They were a team that was, and you see some of his work there defensively as well. He has taken a lot of pride in his ability to try to play on both sides. Obviously now he's mostly a DH, but it's part of what's made him such a beloved teammate, John, that he does whatever is needed for his team. We heard Mark DeRosa, our colleague and the manager of Team USA, talk about how Schwarber's already said, bat me first, bat me second, bat me third, whatever's best for the team. And I think we're seeing now, John, the value in being, in addition to an elite player, a great clubhouse person. Kyle Schwarber is all of that, beloved in that clubhouse, John. And I think now the Phillies, who had a lot of big ticket things to handle, you bring back Schwarber. Can you now put forth the investment to bring back Real Muto and Ranger Suarez, who has a very, very healthy market?
Right.
I think there's probably a higher chance, there always has been, I believe,
Right, I agree.
of Suarez moving somewhere else just because of the interest level in him.
I'm with you on that. Look, what I've heard in this deal with Schwarber is that the Orioles were the team that pressed it. That the Orioles were in that range of 150, and I think they were at 150 for 5. And that's probably what forced the Phillies to come up. I think the Phillies were always going to come up and be the last man standing in this. It felt like he wanted to be there. As you said, I think he's almost, at least for last year, supplanted Bryce as the number 1 guy. Not that it's anything bad being the number 2 guy on a great team. Cincinnati, I like the fact that they gave it a shot. Hometown team, you never know. I don't think they were there with the money, 150 for 5. That's a lot of money for Cincinnati. So I give them credit for being in there pitching. Obviously, the Red Sox were interested. The Mets were interested. This is a guy who is, after Ohtani, the best DH in baseball, and that's clear, and that's probably why he went first. Let's get to some of these chats now too. Any chance for EMI? We'll each give a little brief take on these things. Philly's still an EMI. I'll handle that one. I think it's less likely now. I do. I mean, they've spent $150 million. I'm with you. They're going for Real Muto. I think it's less likely. I'm looking at the Cubs on EMI, as I've mentioned a few times. The Red Sox. I think there are other teams potentially in there. I'll let you handle the next one. Stern's plan better be big. This is awful. That's not really a question. That's not a question.
More of a statement.
All right. What do you think? What do they need to do? Give me a couple things they need to do. All right.
By the way, first of all, I'm utterly stunned that some Mets fans are upset to see Diaz become a Dodger. I can't believe this reaction.
I look at my daughter. I mean, I got a text with the emojis, no, with an exclamation point. They love this guy. I mean, he's the best closer. Timmy Trumpet now goes west another 3,000 miles.
Right.
It's a very sad day in Metsville, but what can they do?
Yes, so a couple things. I agree that there is now more pressure on them to answer. I think Robert Suarez, we alluded to him a little bit earlier, I think he might be the biggest beneficiary of this decision from Diaz, because now you have the World Series runner-up in the Blue Jays needing a closer, and the Mets, who were probably the runner-up in signing Diaz, who also need a closer. So you've got 2 high-payroll, highly motivated teams pursuing the same person at a relatively small part of the marketplace. There's a lot of starting pitching out there. There are fewer what I would describe as A-level, capital C closers who have done this job at this echelon. So I think that this is good news for Robert Suarez, and I would say he's probably the next option for the Mets. They may also, we talked about Ranger Suarez being a fit potentially for the Mets as well. So I think they will think boldly. I think they're much more on the pitching side for now, and yet, what of Pete Alonso? And so could the Mets, from a standpoint of the fan reaction, John, and David Stearns and the expectations on him, the sentiment of the Mets fans, they probably realized that there was a chance that one of Diaz and Alonso would leave. But could they really countenance losing both of them? And I think that is where David Stearns, as much as he is a very disciplined executive, might have to lean in a little bit and realize that he may have to do something against his instincts as an executive, because it is what the paying customers want.
Or the owner might lean in, like he did last year with Alonso. I'm with you on Alonso and Suarez, but I don't know what the gap is still with the Mets and the Dodgers at that point. They got a long way to close this gap. So,
and you're right. And let's remember, John, the Mets, for all the money they spent, did not make the playoffs in 2020.
Oh, we haven't forgotten that. We in New York have not forgotten that. Don't worry.
To make up there.
Right. Anything on the Padre trade rooms? I mean, I think they're always talking about crazy big stuff. I'm sure they're talking every time I run into a Padre guy in the hallway here. It's a long hallway here between the 2 hotels. They kind of poo-poo it, and I think I would do the same if I were them, because, AJ Preller, he's always big game hunting. He's done it. He's been a big game hunter, but the way they're talking, it sounded like Tatis is on the board. Now, I've talked to the Padres, and I got the clear indication they have no intention of trading Tatis, but What else are they talking that's this big? I don't know if there's anybody else on that team that's this big. They're acting like this story is bigger than big, and they have good players. I don't think Machado's tradable or Bogarts, and Mason Miller. They just got him. They love him. I don't see that. I'm not sure what it is. Would you believe any of this stuff?
I do believe that the Padres are listening, John, and I believe they'll be active in terms of potentially moving names like Nick Pivetta and Jake Cronenworth. I do not think that Tatis is going anywhere, and I believe that if you move Pivetta or if you move someone like Cronenworth, the idea is to clear that necessary money to then add and reshape the roster a little bit. We know A.J. Preller very rarely is a status quo guy. He needs pitching, and they're talking about maybe moving Pivetta. Then how much pitching are they going to need? I don't. So, John, here's what I think. The only way that it makes sense for them to trade Pivetta is if they get back lower cost pitching in return. So think about optionable depth, 3rd, 4th, 5th type starters, and then they go out and use some of the depth they get from the Pivetta trade to go and acquire Mackenzie Gore, who they know well and who's available, and then maybe they're able to reformulate things a bit, and so you have more of that optionable depth that's there. But they're at least one starting pitcher short, at least, and that's if they keep Pivetta. So the only way that you trade Pivetta and get better, in my estimation, John, is if you get back pitching, and then by getting back pitching, it allows you to make a separate trade for someone of the level of Mackenzie Gore, and then that becomes probably a less expensive but also very effective rotation in light of obviously what we know about the ownership level and the uncertainty there surrounding a possible sale.
They do love Gore. They did try for him at the deadline. That's a possibility, I guess. He's thinking of a million. I just heard him on MLB Network talking about how he called Neander about some Rule 5 thing at 1 a.m. So, he's a little crazy, but he does good work. What about Belly? What do we think? He looks like a New Yorker to me, one way or the other, I would think at this point. You got some other options. Philly, they make some sense. They got a lot going on in the outfield. The Dodgers just signed Diaz. I'm not sure. They do need an outfielder. Where do you think that goes?
I believe that Cody Bellinger stays in New York, one team or the other.
Right.
I do, though, think, and this will sound a little ironic, that the Dodgers are still a good fit for him. That when you consider what their needs are, they don't know exactly what their center field plan is. There's been some talk about maybe moving Teoscar Hernandez. He's a nice fit if you want to have him play first base a bit to give Freddie a half a day off. Obviously, Freddie's not going to DH very often when you got Ohtani there. But I think that Bellinger is his market, John, includes a lot of the right large market teams. If you design the perfect free agency, it looks like Cody Bellinger's market, because you could even put the Giants in that conversation. Teams that that are willing to spend money and have clear needs want Bellinger, and for good reason. His numbers in 2025 were at least as good as Kyle Tucker's.
Right. 5-WAR player. This is his 3rd shot at free agency. He didn't take the second one. The first one didn't work out as he was basically released from the Dodgers, went to the Cubs, reproved himself, and without the qualifying offer, it looks like a good market for Cody Bellinger. All right, let's move on to category number 3 here. I think we covered Schwarber and Diaz pretty well. So, Ketel Marte, you've done some reporting on that. Where do you think that's headed? It feels like there's a decent chance that he ends up getting traded. I hear that Carroll and Perdomo are their 2 untouchables. They've talked about Marte before and didn't deal him, but it feels like it's a little more serious this time.
I agree. It is a little more serious. And by the way, I was just told right before we started our show here that the trade market for Brandon Lau is picking up. That's another second baseman type. So when you consider the potential second baseman that could be available, many of them, by the way, either switch or left. Marte, Donovan, Cronenworth, and then Brandon Lau. It's a very healthy market, which certainly impacts Bo Bichette's overall outlook. Because if you're starting to view Bo as a second baseman, and if his price tag is large, as we expect it to be, then you're saying, wait a minute, do I want to spend this or invest more in a trade for someone whose salary is considerably lesser? So I think that the team I'm watching on Ketel Marte is Boston. And the reason is this. Boston has young, controllable starting pitching. Tolley, early, they were able to replenish some of their trades that they were able to bring in. Obviously, the move they made with Pittsburgh, they got Sonny Gray from St. Louis. And so from all those perspectives, the Red Sox are the ideal team to make a move like this and utilize some of that tradable young depth that's controllable. You bring in a Marte,
right?
Then Story's your third baseman, and it allows, maybe it's a Marcelo Meyer over at third base. And most importantly, John, you've got to have Cedar Rafaela playing center field. He is.
I know. I'm with you.
At that position.
I'm with
so
you.
You bring in Marte and move Rafaela out to center field.
All right. Yeah, the teams I'm looking at are Boston, Toronto, Philly, Seattle. All potentially certainly big market teams with stuff to do. The thing I'm thinking about with Boston, and I did report about Boston, is don't they have to exhaust Bregman first before they get to Marte? And the same with Toronto. Then they have to exhaust Bichette first before they get to Marte. What do you think about that?
I don't think Toronto is as good of a fit for Marte because the Diamondbacks need pitching. And the Jays' high-level minor league pitching is either already in the big leagues like Savage.
He's not going anywhere. Yeah.
They traded Cal Steven to bring in Bieber.
Right.
And a lot of their other young guys like Ricky Tiedemann, Chad Dallas, they're coming back from surgery. So it's not the same type of tradable depth that, for example, the Red Sox have.
Right.
You're right. I think it would be asking a lot of the Red Sox to say trade for Marte and then go sign Bregman.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that. I'm not seing that. That's too much.
Those moves are mutually exclusive.
I agree. I think so. All right. Yankees and we'll go quick on these because there's so many. Yankees and Imai update. I think Yankees are slow playing everything. I'm not sure that anything's going to go quick, but you never know with the Yankees. They just strike Teixeira. Nobody's thought a word about it. One day they're in, they got him, and that was it. So you never know. I still like the Cubs with Imai. So that's my thought on that. Let's see. We're getting a lot of Mets questions. I understand. Your Mets fans are not too happy about that.
I would too, John. The Giants on Imai still is a potential fit as well. I think the Giants, whether it's Imai, Valdez, Ranger Suarez, I think they're going to make it.
Are they going to do a big picture though? Because I saw the report about mid-tier. I don't know. They're acting kind of maybe. We'll see. But it could be like the Yankees where they strike, and they certainly have the wherewithal to do it, right?
I love this, John. By the way, with Buster Posey as their new president of baseball operations, he's been in the job a year, but it's really sort of his first full offseason doing this. That they're a little bit different from a lot of the other teams and how they operate. They're a little more traditional, which, by the way, is a healthy thing to have some diversity of thought in this profession.
All right, some of these are not questions. We want questions. Yanks are spamming losers. I'm not sure what that means, so we're not going to go on that one. There's some funny questions. Dodger baseball, certainly I get that. Dodgers fans are excited. They've been excited year-round. They are the best. They get the best, and give them credit. We got all questions are all on the Yankees and Mets. Do we have any other questions?
I think I may have seen an Astros logo there.
All right.
A former Astro and Kyle Tucker. Where do we think his strongest suitors are?
I mean, the only one we saw was Toronto. I saw people poo-poo that because he lives in Tampa and drove to their site in Dunedin, and people were saying, big deal, it's 45 minutes. But who else have we seen out there? I mean, do they really go and, talk about rooting baseball? And I don't think Kyle Tucker he's not Ohtani. I don't think he's Soto. I don't even think he's Vlad Guerrero. But, it can't be the Dodgers, right? It's a little bit too much. I think they need to do a little bit in the outfield, but, I kind of think if they would sign Tucker if he would do a short-term deal maybe. Right. But I don't think they're going big.
One team that I have heard on Tucker that is
I haven't heard any teams.
Baltimore. And let's think about this.
Right.
John, who was the Astros scouting director when Kyle Tucker was drafted?
Right. Mike Elias. Right. Very good.
Elias is now the GM of the
Baltimore. He's got a lot of connections out there. He's the Fromber connection as well with
and to circle back to a point that you just made as we came on the air with our show, if the Orioles were in that heavy on Kyle Schwarber, they've been talking to the same agency that represents Tucker.
Exactly.
So there's a real potential.
I like that.
There.
That's a good one. All right, we're going to go on to the next category. Tiger Skubal, what do you think? Scott Harris, the GM or baseball president of Detroit, is out there, and he's saying, of course, we're going to listen. We'll listen on anybody. How do you take that? I'll take it at face value that they're willing to listen, and it's a long shot. But, there are some teams out there that do believe that there's a good chance that he will be traded. What do you think? I never thought so. But
I would say I'm going to edit out one word in that statement. I don't think there's a good chance, but I think there's a chance. And the Tigers have not.
What percent? What percent? Certainly there's a chance.
I've got 40.
40. Is that
high?
You don't call that a good chance? No.
It's a fair chance.
Oh, I don't know. That's pretty.
It would be a 50 or above.
All right.
40's a fair chance.
Oh, I didn't put it that high. I put it at 20. I did percentages for all these guys. I gave him a 20. I gave Peralta a 30. I don't know. It doesn't sound like the Twins guys are going anywhere. I think
Peralta is even less likely than Schwarber.
Oh, really?
I do.
Well, they've done it before, so I kind of think that they would be willing to do it. All right, Buxton to the Phillies. I don't think he's going anywhere. That seems to be the thought. That would be a good one for either Phillies or the Mets or some other teams. I think. First of all, I don't think they're trading him anyway. If they did, I think he would approve Atlanta. I'm just guessing there, but that would be my guess.
It's a great question, John, and the Twins are kind of stuck in the middle. It's like they got up, they put the car halfway up the hill, and then they've kind of stopped and looked around.
Right.
Because they have players that are of great interest, and they're kind of halfway into this rebuild.
Right.
I don't know. To me, in my opinion, if you're going to go, you go.
Right.
And you've got Joe Ryan and Buxton still sitting there to where,
in
my view, I think that, especially at a time where teams seem to want to trade as opposed to sign free agency, put them out there and see what you can bring back.
Right. I mean, the Nats are going to trade Gore. I think that's more than 50%. I think they should. I get that. There's 2 years to go. Same goes on in Minnesota with Ryan. He's got 2 years to go. They could get a ton for Joe Ryan. So I get what you're saying. It is funny that they traded 11 guys and they still have a fairly okay team, and they're in a division that's maybe winnable. The Nats are not really in a winnable division, although the Mets are going down this way, but they still have got the Phillies to deal with.
Watch there for Twins fans, Luke Ketel, really outstanding young infielder. I know Willie Bloomquist, former major leaguer, his college coach at ASU, loves Luke Ketel, so remember that name.
All right, let's do latest on Alonso now. He's coming here. We know that. And the Red Sox are going to meet with him, and the Orioles are going to meet with him. I'm told there are other teams. I don't know who those other teams are. I don't think it's the Mets. The Mets said they feel like they know Alonso. I think Alonso feels the same. I'm not reading anything negative into that. It better be the Mets. Although I'm hearing some more buzz that the Red Sox are pretty doggone serious about this. I know the Red Sox like Schwarber, and obviously they didn't get Schwarber. Alonso's a better fit. Right-handed bat, got the green monster. Their best hitters are left-handed. I think they're a real threat. And the Mets. I have guys coming up to me and say, "Why are the Mets letting this linger again with Alonso another time?" And it's a little bit odd. It really is. He's their all-time home run leader.
And John, to your point, if they were in love with the idea of a long-term relationship with Pete Alonso, they would have signed him to that contract by now. Period. They've had months and years to get this deal done. They don't have a deal right now.
They do just like to drive a hard bargain. I don't think they had anything against Diaz. In fact, I know the owner loved Diaz. They had him at his house. They treated him great. Boston
for Pete Alonso, John. That bat and that ballpark with that ascendant lineup, Roman Anthony.
Right.
If Pete Alonso goes to the Boston Red Sox, which I think is possible.
Right. I'm with you.
Awful news for the rest of the American League East.
All right, I'm with you on that. All right, we got a lot of Yanks and Mets questions.
A little question there.
Yeah, Royals outfield, right?
Outfield is their order of the day. They like Donovan. I think they're interested a bit in Harrison Bader. They're interested in Jarren Duran from the Red Sox if they end up actually moving him. So I do believe the Royals will make a move for an outfield bat. I thought overall that Taylor Ward would have been a really good fit for them. Of course, he wound up going to the Baltimore Orioles.
I'm going to guess Austin Hayes there. That's more in line with their money, I think. Bader wants a 3-year deal, I think, which I get it. Off the year that he had, he was fantastic in Philly. Maybe he goes back to Philly. They definitely are interested in Bader. That's a good call. I do think they're looking at right-handed, so those are the two that really fit. And they like Mike Yastrzemski, so I think they'd like him back in their clubhouse and on their team. I think that he's not right-handed, but they like him enough to do it. All right, let's go. Nats open for business. That's clear, and I think that's the right thing to do. I like what they've done so far. They brought in Harry Ford. I mean, I haven't seen him play, but everything we hear, it's fantastic. Obviously, Gore is on the market. What do you think? Should they trade the shortstop, Abrams, as well?
I do. I think Abrams' value has bounced back a little bit since 2024. There is interest in him. I would personally love to see him in a Braves uniform back to his hometown. I don't think that's going to happen in the same division. And also the Braves, I'm sure, John, you probably heard similar, they're telling people that they're comfortable with Dubon as their shortstop if the season started today. Now, I tend to think that they should probably be a little more aggressive and look for other options like C.J. Abrams, who grew up just outside of Atlanta. But right now, I do think that part of the marketplace, if you're looking at teams that have an interest in Bo Bichette, one team that even to me comes to mind that I'd be intrigued as a potential fit for Abrams, why not the Dodgers? The Dodgers have a really good farm system. If you bring in Abrams, then you could potentially move Mookie to a different position that's not shortstop. I know he's moved all over the place.
Yeah, I don't know if he wants to move. I don't know if he wants to.
The only way you would do that is if Mookie wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And that to me is just, but that's, when you look at Abrams, he's the kind of player that the Dodgers have gotten a lot out of in the past and a lot of value. So
I like your Atlanta pick better. I think that's a good pick. I don't think we're going to move Mookie. You never know, I guess. He moved already, but I think he loves it there. He played great there. I don't think they would do that for Abrams. For me, that division thing, I mean, unless you're trading, Bryce Harper in his prime, I don't care about it. Abrams is a good player. He's not going to set the world on fire. Everybody keeps tweeting, texting us or chatting.
The Marlins, they're to me, John, Sandy Alcantara, a very interesting name. Now, I had thought that he might have been moved by now. I really believe that. And part of it might be some teams are waiting to see how the free agent market settles out. But if the Giants do not land one of Framber, Ranger Suarez, Imai, then I think Sandy Alcantara's name becomes very popular. There are those who believe that the Marlins with Alcantara and Cabrera and so many others there have as much good young pitching depth as any other organization in the sport, at least among the starting pitchers.
Right. I think they have great depth. That is a reason to trade someone. It feels more that they're more likely to trade Cabrera than Alcantara. Alcantara, to me, I think it'd be better off if he comes back and shows that he's even not a Cy Young, but a great pitcher, which I think still has the potential to do. He's still got the fastball velocity. I'm not sure why it didn't work out for him last year. I get why they didn't trade him. They weren't going to get really what he's worth, having an ERA as high as it was. So.
I think he's going to have a great year.
Yeah, I'd hold on to him if I'm the Marlins, but I get it what you're saying. They definitely do have depth. Anything hot for the Mets on the trade? We get a lot of Mets and Yankees. That might be because I'm here. I don't know. Obviously, it was a bad day for the Mets, a very, very bad day. The Mets do need to get a starting pitcher, and I think they are still very much opposed to those long deals. So I don't think, even though they met with Framber, as you first reported, I don't think they're realistic for a Framber or Imai. I think they will look at these trades.
Maybe Suarez?
Maybe. I don't know. He's not going to get a short deal either, right? At least a 5-year deal.
One part that would be a win is that you're taking him away from the Phillies.
Right.
Away from your division rival, which I'm sure Met fans, it would certainly perk up their enthusiasm after.
They're going to need more than that. They're going to need more than that. And you're going to confuse them with too many Suarez's, too. We've got so many Suarez. I don't think they're getting Eugenio, but they've got a lot of Suarez's on the board. We got to get that last category. It's 3:30. Our time is just about up. I appreciate all the chats. Thank you very much. It's been great having JP Morosi here. Fantastic broadcaster, and I really appreciate his ability to host a show because, I am not him on that, and I appreciate your bearing with me on that. Teams making most moves. I'm going to say Red Sox. We've talked about them. I mean, they're going to end up with either Bregman, Bichette, or Marte, and plus they might get Alonso. They've talked about Okamoto. They've talked about Polanco. I think they're going to get 2 bats. They need the 2 bats, and if they do get those bats, they're ready to go. I mean, I think they're a big-time contender.
For me, John, 2 teams in the orange and black, the Baltimore Orioles and the San Francisco Giants, both with some clear needs, both that really have signaled a lot of aggressiveness so far in this hot stove season, John, and neither one of them have really made a massive play with the exception of the Orioles getting Taylor Ward. So I think the O's with one more bat, one more arm potentially, and the Giants are very strongly involved there in the starting pitching market.
I am with you on the Orioles. They also added Kittredge and Helsley. They've done some good work, but they are big game hunting, as we saw. They went big for Schwarber. I think they pushed the Phillies to do what they needed to do to keep him. I love your Tucker with Baltimore. I mean, to me, that's the scoop of our show. Baltimore and Tucker, I love it. I'm going to have to investigate that when we're off. It's been my pleasure. It's been great having JP Morosi. We're going to have him back. Thanks for signing on, listening in. Appreciate it. Jon Heyman and JP Morosi signing off for Bleacher Report. We'll be back at you tomorrow, same time, same bad channel.